What's up, everyone? This is Tatum. I'm back with another episode of Flowers. For those that's new to my channel, Flowers is my segment where I like to give some albums that I love, that mean something to me, or just some classic albums that deserve their recognition. So today, I'm continuing my journey. If you're a subscriber to my channel, which you should be already, hit that subscribe button right now. I'm on a Mariah Carey journey. I wanted to go through her albums and just give her flowers for the most part. I started with Butterfly. I'll put it up here if you want to go check out that review. It's pretty good, if I do say so myself. But today, I wanted to do the Daydream album. This is Mariah Carey's fifth studio album, and I think I've underappreciated this album. I'm giving some flowers that I felt like I underappreciated. I listening back to this album because I haven't heard it in its entirety in so long. Like, I've heard the singles here and there, blah blah blah, but I never listened to it I haven't listened to it in so long, just all the way through and just digesting everything that comes along with it. And just first thoughts, I have to say, I think this album, I think it has some of the best Mariah songs in her career. Like, on each album, like, I think like this album has the best bulk of Mariah's best songs to me. 6 singles on here is just already just crazy. Even though it's the 90s and they used to let the divas and big pop stars at that time, just the album lifespan would be like 3 years, you know what I mean, until the next one came out, which has its pros and cons. But this album dropped September 26, 1995. I mentioned something in my Butterfly review, and I want to take back and admit that I was totally wrong about. I said that album was her tapping into the hip hop genre a bit, and this, like, I don't even know why I said that actually, because like I knew Fantasy, you know what I mean? But this was the first album that she gained a big control over her music creatively, and the first time she actually indulged in hip hop with songs like the Fantasy remix, which is probably bigger than the original Fantasy, at least where I'm from. She worked with Jermaine Dupri a lot on here. It was like their first time, and I'm thinking back in 95, 94. Oh, Jermaine Dupri was just like, he was still a new producer at the time. I mean, he had Criss Cross and I believe the Brett, maybe, Escape. But essentially he was still new, a new sound. And I thought it was dope. I totally forgot that he produced Always Be My Baby. Like, I don't know. Listening back to it now, and I hear the percussions of Jermaine Dupri, and I'm like, oh yeah, you can easily hear it. But I don't know. I never thought of it till then. But I just want to go through a couple songs on here and just fan out for a bit, you know, if that's cool with you. If not, you can leave the channel. To start your album off with Fantasy is just GOAT in itself. Like, that's just, anybody would die for like a record like that. And even it's back now with Lotta with Big Energy. So like that song in itself, it's just like I was doing I don't know if it was Pitchfork, but it was like the #1 R&B song or pop song of the 90s, which is crazy. But looking back at it, it's like, yeah, Fantasy just like feels great at any time you put it on. Like, I remember that classic like Rush Hour scene where Soo Young is on her way to school and she's singing Fantasy. That's how great that song is. Before I move on, her second verse on here is crazy, and it's just crazy lyrics and poetry. Images of rapture creeping into me slowly as you're going through my head, as my heart beats faster. When you take me over time and time again. But just her starting a verse and saying images of rapture, that's fucking dope. And ODB, like ODB. And I heard a record company was like hesitant on that because they didn't want her other audience to be turned off. But me and Mariah go back like babies and pacifiers is probably one of the most memorable lines in her discography, if we want to be truthfully honest. Underneath the Stars is great. To have these, I'm looking at the track list and it goes from Fantasy, Underneath the Stars, Once We Date, Open Arms, which is a Journey cover, which I didn't even know till recently listening back to it. Always Be My Baby, I'm Free, When I Saw You Long Ago, Melt Away Forever, the Daydream Interlude, and Looking Into You. That's a crazy track listing. But One Sweet Day, I remember being a kid, and I think the video of this is they're in a studio recording it. That was a very 90s theme, 80s theme. It was just like, the video will be us singing the song in the studio. We'll just make the song and that's the video. Instead of having this elaborate, maybe it was due to timing with both artists because Boyz II Men was big as hell at the time and Mariah is Mariah. But it's one of those songs that kind of define to me 90s R&B duets. Top two of the 90s. It's hard to find. I mean, I take that back. Somebody gonna hit me in the comments with like the best R&B duets from the 90s. It's a tough battle, but I think it's top 5. Vocally, it's great. The message in it of someone passing and knowing you'll see them one day, and I know you're looking down from me from heaven. It's just a great song. Open My Arms, which is a totally different take on the Journey cover, which I listened to today. I read that her cover was bashed when it was released. But doing this channel, I realized that people with their rock bands or any music are very this is the way it gotta be. Anything other than this kind of stuff. So like it's like someone redoing so when someone redoes a cover and it's the total opposite and she made it more of a ballad instead of that rock feel, I think that just rubbed a bunch of people the wrong way. But I didn't live in that era. I was alive, but I didn't know anything about that. So it sounded beautiful to me. To be truthfully honest with you, I was listening to it and I was like, I don't really like the rock version. Always Be My Baby is a probably top 5 Mariah songs. Let me know in the comments. I think Always Be My Baby is. Fantasy and Always Be My Baby are the first 2 songs of Mariah I remember as a kid. And even that song, I thought to follow Open Arms with Always Be My Baby was and 4, 5, and 6 are, it's like freedom. It's like love lost in a way, but getting it back and things of that nature. Like that whole 3-song run, listening back to it, I would want to ask her what went into the track listing, making the track listing, because 4 through 6 always like listening. 4 through 6 listening back to it, it sounds like a relationship that's losing, but it comes back. But then I want to be like, it's a lot of emotions in that 3-song run. When I See You is dope. Long Ago, another Jermaine Dupri produced track. Melt Away, which I just realized again that it was produced by Babyface. And listening back to it, I'm like, yeah, I can hear it. I can hear that clearly. I don't know. I wasn't so like in tune back then, but listening to it now, I'm like, yeah, I can hear that. I can hear that. I have to say also the ballads on this album, Mariah Carey in the 90s and her ballads, comparable to none. I mean, we did have Whitney, who's the greatest to me. Speaking of which, do you guys remember at the VMAs when they both were there and it was like Whitney and Mariah? Because they did a song, was it for the Anastasia soundtrack? You could correct me in the comments. I might be wrong with that. But they both had on the brown dress and they were just showing how the 2 biggest divas at the time can coexist, even though they probably hate each other. Daydream interlude, I skipped that one. I don't really need a dubstep mix, and Looking In I thought was a great way to close the record. Mariah's vocals just with that piano is something special, man. Again, you gotta give Mariah her I mean, she got her flowers. I mean, what am I saying? Everybody loves Mariah. Let me get into my favorite songs. I'm gonna go with Always Be My Baby, Fantasy. It would have to be One Sweet Day. Those 3 songs just mean so much to me as a kid. Like they hold too much nostalgia and value. Even when I listen to One Sweet Day, I'm like, oh shit, this is such a beautiful song. Her vocal performance on there with that falsetto, it's just beautiful. Worst song, I'm a cop out and go Daydream interlude. It was the only one on there I felt like, why did they do this? Best line, you and I will always be. That's probably my favorite line. I was about to look up something deeper, but I was like, it's that ad lib on the end of Always Be My Baby. Shit is just classic Mariah. But let's wrap this up though. In closing, when it comes to Mariah Carey's Daydream, just fucking classic, man. It reminds me, listening back to it, it just put me back into, you know what I really thought? I thought like, damn, they used to put a lot of effort into albums. They used to put a lot of effort. Just and to think, majority is produced by her, and I forget the guy's name. Starts with an A, but just her and him, and his piano arrangements and his production skills with her, and her coming into her own as an artist. It really just made me think of how great the music was in the '90s, especially R&B, pop as well. Like you can't not include the pop when you're talking about Mariah Carey, right? Also, that bridge. When did Mary J. Blige? I think she introduced it, right? That hip hop R&B blend, but for somebody like Mariah Carey, who was like this doll and clean, and have a song with ODB, your first single featuring ODB on your fifth album I could see how that could come off as a risk. And it's a cool story about ODB and the video for Fantasy Remix. Go Google it. It's fucking hilarious. I think, again, it has the best Mariah songs. Like, if we go through each album, and I think I'm gonna do Music Box next, and then I'll do Mimi. But if we go through the Mariah albums, I think this is the one that has just the best collection of songs. I'll just leave it at that, and you conclude that how you conclude that. You let me know, what do you think Daydream ranks in your Mariah Carey discography? Do you agree that this is the best, or am I tripping that these are the best collection of Mariah Carey songs on the album? Give me your 3 favorite songs, and what lyric stands out to you on this album? What's something that it doesn't have to be a lyric, but what's something about this album that makes it special to you? What stood out to you? Let me know that in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. The next goal is 4,000. So if you see this and you like what you see, tell a friend to tell a friend after you hit subscribe, you know? And you know what? That's pretty much it. Flowers for Mariah Carey's Daydream. Hey, tag Mariah so she can see this. All the fans. I'm Tatum. Peace.